Welcome to feeding time in the worm bin. Hello again. Now I'm starting this video off by just having a look at the edges of the worm bin. What I'm looking for is worm casts. Those casts were there from earlier weeks, so there isn't any great evidence of worms trying to escape from this bin, even though where it's located is very far from ideal and the temperature has been very cold. This is 4 weeks after the previous video, so week 16, and we're somewhere around the middle of March. So the shirt that you're looking at is not actually part of the feeding experiment, but the worms seem to be eating away at it anyhow. And I joked in the last video that they seem to be eating their way around all the rubberized lettering of this cotton t-shirt, and that's exactly what they're doing. You'll notice that the holes are a lot bigger and there's a lot more of them. And I suspect what will happen is this t-shirt will get completely consumed because it is 100% cotton, and what's going to be left is the lettering on that rubberized backing type of stuff. Not sure what it's made of. Now this is the horse manure in which the experiment is actually taking place. So if you haven't watched the earlier videos, this bin was set up using entirely horse manure and whatever volunteer worms I could find that escaped from the worm tower. And into that I added a white 100% cotton t-shirt. And the idea is just to demonstrate that natural fibres, cotton, silk, wool, will be consumed by the worms, and in fact they quite like it. What I'm doing here is just having a look. I know where the shirt is, it's to the left, but I'm just having a look at the rest of the bin, and there's not that many worms on this side. They're still working away in the manure. Now I'm not worried about feeding either, because if they didn't like the shirt, they're not going to go hungry because they're in horse manure, so it's packed full of food for the worms. This is where the shirt is on the left, so we're going to have a look at that now. I'm suspecting by the thin scattering of worms, oh yeah, there you go. I was going to say by the thin population of worms around the rest of the bin, most of them seem to be over on this side, and you can see that's just like what I see when I pull a piece of melon rind out of a worm bin. They're all over it. So they're very clearly enjoying the 100% cotton white t-shirt. My daughter will be pleased. Now, 4 weeks ago, I think there was a little bit of there's about half of the back remaining and some of the front. But you could definitely make out that it was a t-shirt. This has definitely been demolished by them. It's actually falling apart under its own weight. I'm trying to lift it up here just so you can get a better look at it. But as I do, it just disintegrates. So most of that backing that we saw 4 weeks ago, that has all now been eaten. And it's getting closer and closer to just the string or the stitching. So absolutely no problem there with a 100% cotton t-shirt. This is the spot it was in. Lots of worms in that area of the bin. Now it's a little bit compacted. It, like I mentioned, it's in a plastic greenhouse, but the greenhouse has no front on it. The plastic greenhouse is literally disintegrating. So it's got very little protection from the cold and a little bit more protection from the rain, but it still lets a lot of water in. So the bedding has got a little bit wetter and it's a little bit more compact, so I'm just fluffing it up here to get some air into the manure. The microbes living in the manure, they need moisture and oxygen, and that'll keep them breeding, which will keep the worms happy. But they're definitely as interested in that cotton t-shirt as they are the rest of the microbes in the manure. So I'll put this back and we'll come back to it in a little while and we'll see how they're getting on. I suspect there's going to be very little of it left in a few more weeks. This video is a slightly longer video because it's in two parts, but I wasn't able to get this particular update uploaded. So I've got this update and the follow on from that, so this is why it's quite a long video compared to my usual videos. So that's what's left of that cotton t-shirt, which isn't a whole lot, and I'm a little bit concerned the worms are going to get hungry, so I'm going to feed them another t-shirt. Now this one is not 100% cotton, this is 95% cotton and 5% elasticine. It's also been tie-dyed, and my daughter can't remember what kind of dye she used. So I'm very slightly concerned about this because I don't really like introducing harsh chemicals, except that what's in my mind is that white cotton t-shirt, that was probably bleached in the manufacturing process, even though they claim it's 100% cotton and 100% natural. So anyhow, we'll see what happens. I'm going to add this in. It's a tie-dye t-shirt, 5% elasticine, 95% cotton. So the worms should eat the cotton and leave the elasticine. Now that should be fun. I'm just going to fluff this up a little bit more. And then that little trench that I've dug there, I'm going to put the shirt there, cover it up, and then we'll come back in a few weeks and see how they're getting on. And we'll also see what's left of the first t-shirt. And I'm hoping that the tie-dye t-shirt is not going to cause them any major problems. I'm not concerned about the worms killing themselves. They won't. They'll just leave the bin if the environment suddenly changes too drastically for them and they're not happy. Or they'll completely ignore the t-shirt and just carry on feeding off the microbes in the manure. So I'm not worried in the sense that I think there's going to be a mass die-off. I don't think that's a possibility really. But still, I've got a question mark about adding that particular shirt. But we'll see what happens. We'll come back to it in a few weeks' time and we'll have a look and see. And I'm just going to cover it up with the purple t-shirt and let them work away at that as well. So this was week 16, somewhere around the middle of March, and by the magic of YouTube, it's now week 28 and 10th of June. You can see this shirt is a little bit wet, and that's, like I said, because the greenhouse is not really a greenhouse at all. It's not even a sufficient piece of plastic to keep all the water off the bin. So this bin has got a little bit wetter. The worms continue to eat this shirt. They clearly love it. And you're going to start noticing now that there's actually some lettering completely eaten away from the shirt, which I just think that's really funny. So exactly as we predicted right at the very beginning, this is what they're doing. You can see they're eating their way around the lettering. So the rubberized lettering isn't causing them a problem at all. They simply eat the cotton around it. And this is true of, I know you just make a job for yourself in the future where when you don't remove sellotape from cardboard when you add it to your worm bin or whatever, but it doesn't bother the worms. They'll just ignore it and eat the cardboard and leave you with the plastic, which you then have to fish out of the vermicompost. So, now I wonder if they're trying to send a message. So, maybe they're trying to tell me to stop talking and start sowing seeds and do something more useful with my time. And that's another O. Actually, what I suspect they're trying to do is, worms are illiterate. They can't spell. But I strongly suspect what they're trying to get, the message they're trying to get out here is please send help. Now, this is where something, there's little bits of plastic in here as well. Now, these are the little squares from the greenhouse. Greenhouse. I don't even like using that word greenhouse. It's not. This is supposed to be UV protected and everything else, but you get what you pay for. If you buy a large 8-foot by 4-foot greenhouse for 2 shillings and 6pence, what do you expect? So, is that Twitter or Facebook? They've completely eaten the Facebook logo off. And I can't remember what I was saying now. Yeah, it's Facebook. So, yeah, this was a really funny idea. I thought it was very funny. You can see some lettering scattered around, except now I have to pick the letters out. So I'm probably not going to put that t-shirt back, because once you have to start fishing out lots of tiny letters like that. S-E. Please let the next letter be a vowel. Now here's the original t-shirt, and look at that. Just the string left. So they have quite literally consumed the entire of that original t-shirt. All that is left is the stitching. So it's not 100% cotton either, obviously, because that stitching, if it was 100% cotton, that would have been eaten as well. So it's probably some sort of nylon thread with a cotton outer layer or something. I don't know. I don't know anything about threads or sewing or material. But that's the t-shirt. And there's still a few worms trying to get the very last bit of goodness out of it. I suppose you've got to be careful with this. Somebody pointed this out. I can't remember the person's name, or I'd give you a mention. But they said they had done something similar, and when they pulled the thread out, they actually sliced through a couple of worms that were caught in the thread. So if you do this, just be careful. But that is quite incredible, I think. The entire t-shirt has been consumed, and I'm just left with the thread. But the label is misleading, because it says 100% cotton, and that is not the case, because obviously the label isn't cotton and the stitching is not cotton. But it's close enough. I think that was fascinating. They did a fantastic job on that. Right, let's have a little dig and see how the second t-shirt is doing. I'm going to add a pair of denim shorts next, once this t-shirt has been consumed, I'm going to... What's that? EU. Oh, great. Okay. Here's the t-shirt. Doesn't seem to be as popular as... Now, I should say this as well. The reason why I get my weeks mixed up now, we did week 16 and 20, this is week 28, so it's 12 weeks since the first part of this video. And the reason I left it was so long was for quite a while they didn't seem to be interested in this shirt at all. And I did wonder if it was the dyeing process. But you can see they're now starting to make inroads in it. That's the elasticine. And the cotton is being eaten around it. So potentially I could be left with a see-through t-shirt. That might be a new fashion idea. See-through t-shirts by worms. Yeah, so it's that's just the label. Look at the label there. 95% cotton, 5% plasticine. Plasticine. Elasticine. It's starting to take on an interesting form, where you can see patches where it's completely see-through, with the cotton's been eaten on both sides. But they're much slower on this t-shirt. Now, whether it's the elasticine or the fact that it was tie-dyed, I'm not sure. Maybe it'll just become more attractive in a few more weeks' time. They just take a while to get used to the different food. They wanted 100% cotton. Maybe they're disappointed. But anyway, that's where that looks now. The edges tell me there hasn't been any sort of mass bailout, and because this sits on a sheet of cardboard, I'm not finding many worms underneath the cardboard as usual, and there's a nice healthy looking worm. So it's not having a negative effect on the bin. The worms are not trying to do any sort of a mass escape, but they're working on this one. It seems much slower than on the other one. And that could be the dye, it could be the fact that it's not the elasticine in it. Maybe you don't like the texture or whatever, or maybe it doesn't pick up the microbes as quickly as the cotton did, because that t-shirt's not 100% natural. So what we'll do is, where are we? Week 28. We'll come back week 32, which will be soon actually, wasn't it? That's the 10th, 17, 24... first 8th, so somewhere around the 8th, 10th of July I'll do another update and we'll have a look and see how this particular t-shirt is getting on. But definitely much slower, definitely not causing the worms too many problems. You can see by the sides there's not many casts on the sides, so they're not trying to leave the bin, they're not unhappy with the bedding. Temperatures have improved a lot obviously because we're now in June, and I'm not putting that purple t-shirt back on because it's going to be a pain picking everything out, even all the lettering out, even though it is funny. So I've removed that. It doesn't really need a cover now at all, so I think I'll just put it back into that greenhouse, inverted commas, without any cover on, and we'll see how they get on. We'll come back around, let's say around the middle of July, for a quick update. As always, I hope you're all keeping well and staying safe. Hello and welcome to all the new subscribers and old subscribers. Always good to hear from you in the comments. If you have any questions, ask, and I'll definitely do my best to answer. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.